welcome back to Grumble and Growl. I'm Gail Tosh, your host, as we examine issues from the local to the global perspective so that you can make better choices. Today, we are here with a local interview with Hanah Ehrenreich. She is running for Common Councilor at Large for Syracuse City. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hanah, Hanah, this is the first thing I learned about Hanah. Her name was Hanah, not Hannah. And you know the problem I have with names. So Hanah.
Hi.
Hi. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Why are you running for office?
I am a local Syracusan, and I was born and raised in this community, and I'm running for office because we need to take decisive action in the future on a whole range of different public policy issues. But specifically, we need to make sure that encroaching fascism does not end up being the rule of law here. And that comes in a variety of different forms. I really like thinking about hopes and dreams. Mm-hmm. I really want to envision a Syracuse that is fully walkable for all the children of our community.
And the elderly.
That's right. People who are able to age in place is a huge priority. I have parents who live here who, are aging and struggling with mobility. And I also want to view our city as a dream destination, someplace where you really are proud to be from and proud to come back to, proud to commit your life to working towards a vision of a peaceful city.
I love that.
I really think that we have a lot of untapped potential, and we've also been really improving over the past 40 years.
Absolutely. Syracuse has a lot of potential, and it's a beautiful city.
It is.
If we could fix up the houses, the empty zombie houses that we have, and actually put some of the homeless people in them, you'd think that's an easy mix.
There was a comedian that I saw recently that said, the unhoused versus homeless. She was like, nobody who is unhoused would refer to themselves as being unhoused. Like, why can't we do nomadic? Nomadic is, good job, Paul. She says, you're off the grid. That's the way to do it.
But homesteaders.
But there are public policy solutions that I think we could embrace in terms of reducing the number of people who become unhoused in Syracuse, who become nomadic.
One of those is common cause eviction.
Good cause eviction.
Good cause. Can you explain that a little bit?
So good cause eviction is a tweak. We already have protections for tenants. That is true. But this one would make it clearer that tenants have a right to stay in good quality housing. So just if you have a problem with your landlord and because you voiced the problem, you are now getting evicted, this would prevent that from happening. We also have a lot of really good landlords. People don't talk about that a lot. People who
only hear about the bad ones.
We only hear about the bad ones.
Yeah.
And this would not affect the good landlords in any way. This is literally one additional question that they have to answer on an eviction notice sheet in filling out the forms. I really think as somebody who has rented, as somebody who rents to other people, that we have an easy responsibility. It's an easy responsibility to make sure we provide good quality housing to good people and we keep them housed. And I think that this would do that. I don't think it's going to be onerous. I don't think it's a burden. I really think that it is just common sense legislation that provides people with a little more protection.
It does seem like common sense. And when the first time I heard about this, I was like, it's not a thing already, right? What's the problem with that?
And a lot of landlords are saying, well, we already have tenant protections. But clearly, if we have people being evicted because they're complaining that there's lead paint in the house, and that is something that a landlord has a legal obligation to take care of, that the tenant protections we have are not sufficient.
Well, I just put this out there. And my wife and I were looking to buy a house, and because we know that there's lots of immigrants coming in to our community, and we wanted to fix up some houses so that they would have nice places to live when they got here. But we couldn't find a house. All of the houses were in such disrepair, and people were living in them in situations that we just couldn't imagine. So it's the housing is a huge problem here in Syracuse, and it doesn't have to be.
And it's so short-sighted. It's really similar to just-in-time production, right? you buy a house, and these are 100-year-old houses already, 120-year-old houses in some cases,
And they're gorgeous.
they're gorgeous, and they're
know.
still standing
Yeah.
because they were made with these really old growth timbers, and they were, hand joined, and but if you don't reinvest in them even a little bit every year, they fall down.
Yeah.
And they do it over 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're still standing because they are great housing stock, and we are really lucky to have that in Syracuse. But we need landlords that are reinvesting in those properties if they're going to continue to rent them, and it's just not a sustainable situation otherwise.
I think this is one of the biggest issues we have in the city right now. I don't actually live in the city, but from what I hear.
Well, one of the other things is we need new housing stock. So one of the things that the land bank is doing is taking properties in massive disrepair, tax delinquent properties, and trying to get people to fix them up. And if that's not successful, then they are removing that as a building. And then we have Home Headquarters that is putting new houses up in those areas as infill houses.
Oh, that's great.
And I will say, I do have a 100-year-old house, and it is a bit of a project. And Syracuse is a little bit like a 100-year-old house. It is a bit of a project, but you care about it, you treat it right, it treats you right, right? But that being said, a quality new house that you live in that doesn't have issues, that is a blessing to a lot of people, to homeowners, to renters. We need to have better pipelines from renting or public housing into homeownership, and we need to have both quality existing housing stock and new housing stock as part of that mix.
Brought up public housing. Part of my job is helping people, and some people need housing, and the waits on the public housing list, it's like, oh yeah, I'm already on that list and I'm number 1345. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
No,
You're never going to
awful.
get a house.
No.
You're never going to get an apartment.
No. So there is another issue in the city of Syracuse, and it's actually not an our issue. It's a kind of universal issue. It's also in the county. It's also in other counties. Builders are having difficulty getting financing to make, I'm not even going to touch single family houses, but let's talk about like multi-units, right? We just went through rezone. The downtown of Syracuse and some of our surrounding areas it's kind of like a zone pattern, cone pattern, cone zone.
Cone zone. I like that.
But there is higher density in the city of Syracuse, and we have spaces where we could build larger apartment complexes or condos, or we could build housing with a lot more units than we currently have. But developers can't get financing, and there's a gap between what they can get financed for and what they need in order to move the project forward. There's an opportunity there, Gail.
There is an opportunity there because Micron is coming.
Yeah.
And we're going to need a lot more housing.
We're going to need a lot more, lots of things.
Yeah. So
if the Trump administration doesn't screw that up for us.
Right. Let's hold our
breath. I think there's a lot of people who are very nervously chewing their nails right now.
My job depends on Micron. My job depends on Micron and the Department of Education. So yes, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I
think there are a lot of parents in this community that are nervous about the Department of Education.
Yep.
But if we as a municipality, we as a state, if we can help developers bridge that financing gap, if we can put public money into these projects, I believe that we can create really powerful coalitions that will result in public good being prioritized in a number of these housing units. And I see that as being able to transition people from Section 8 into home ownership, either owning their own apartment or owning their own condo or owning their own house. I also believe that we need dedicated housing opportunities for first-time home buyers across income spectrums. Like, you don't have to be low income to have a difficult time buying and affording a house in Syracuse right now. I know a lot of people who are of various levels, some of them very high income, who really can't get it. And if you pay $1,600 a month in rent, that should absolutely qualify you for a mortgage.
Absolutely.
That is nuts. Yeah. That is, I'll tell you honestly, that is more than I pay for my mortgage.
Yeah. It's way more than I pay for my mortgage.
Right. So if you are able to maintain that in a rental, you should be, that should
a guarantee
you the ability to get qualified for financing.
I like that rule.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it
so and
makes
that's
common sense.
yeah, exactly. And that's down to individual banks, honestly. Like they can do that. There are credit unions in this neighborhood that do take on-time rental payments as demonstration of creditworthiness.
That's very good.
I mean, it's common sense, right?
Right.
Yeah. But that being said, if we could have percentages of all new housing developments or large percentages of housing developments that are publicly financed, we can create new homeownership opportunities and more rental opportunities in quality housing.
When a person owns their own home, they take care of it a lot more and the area around it.
And it is still the number one way that families get intergenerational wealth.
Yes. Yes.
So the flip side of that is if we don't have new opportunities for homeownership, if we keep people from being homeowners, if we keep them, and the only option is multi-generational public housing, we are preventing families from really getting that investment that they can contribute towards the prosperity of their future generations.
I really love what you're talking about. But as a politician, again, sometimes we don't answer the question. So tell me, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah. Who are you? Tell us and tell them.
I'm Hanah Ehrenreich. I am the parent of two amazing kids.
I've met them. They're pretty cool.
They're pretty cool. I am a former soccer player.
What position?
I was forward.
Nice.
I like to score goals.
Yeah.
I am a nonprofit professional. I have worked in community finance at Cooperative Federal. I've worked in workforce development at CNY Works. I have managed lots of grants. I ran an environmental nonprofit in North Carolina for a period of about 6 years.
Well, you sound really qualified for this job.
Am I?
I think you are.
I've also been a mayoral appointee
Whoa.
on the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency's board and as on a Stormwater Commission board and on public transit in the Metropolitan Transportation Authority down in North Carolina.
Sounds like she knows a lot about how a city should be run.
I think there's lots of different ways to run a city, but I think that listening to people is the absolute first priority. And also taking their feedback and putting it into practice.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an expert on public hearings law in any way, shape, or form, but I just went to the city's budget hearing. There was no presentation of the budget. You either did your research ahead of time or you got up there and just talked about anything you wanted to talk about. And you know what? People did not just talk about anything they wanted to talk about. They talked about the budget. They expressed real concerns about where is money coming from? Where is it going? Why is it funding this thing? Why did we not get the payroll software put together? Why did we spend all this money on these different things that are not benefiting people in the city? People here are very cost conscious, but they want a city that functions.
Mm-hmm.
And they also want a city that has revenue that's not directly tied to property taxes. And now, with the Trump administration, some of the things that we've used in the past are not going to work going forward.
Like
a lot of, sorry. I'm
no,
glad you asked.
Go right ahead.
Just jump on your sentence there. Federal grants. You know, we really receive a tremendous amount of federal money, either directly or as pass through from state agencies. We are not going to be able to count on that going forward.
Same with a lot of small nonprofits. There's a lot of small nonprofits in Syracuse that have lost their grants, even ones that were signed. You know, and they're struggling because they don't know where they're going to get their funding from.
Right. And we are going to need a new type of creativity to handle that situation. We are going to need to collaborate more than we have before. We are going to need to look out for each other and look out for the agencies that do phenomenal work in our community. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of social problems. We also have a tremendous amount of talent and potential.
We do.
We do. We had an astronaut, a graduate of SCSD who was circling the Earth not too long ago. I just want to
Wasn't Dick Clark from here? Dick Clark.
I think the Baldwins are from around here.
They are.
We always talk about Syracuse with this dire narrative. And I just want to tell you that you can't live in lots of places of the country the same quality of life that you live in Syracuse. People here have camps. They have second homes that they vacation to on a weekend. Mm-hmm. You can drive 10 minutes outside of the city or inside the city and get apples fresh picked from a tree. We have farmers markets. We have urban farming and urban delights. And
You love
I
Syracuse.
do. It's wonderful. Did I
Oh,
answer the question? Maybe I
yes,
didn't answer the
I think
question
you
yet.
did. I asked you, who are you? You're a mom who's lived in Syracuse, who's done all these wonderful things and learned everything about running a city, and you are in love with Syracuse, and you want to get on the board, on the Common Council,
Yep.
so that you can make some of those changes come true.
Right. I think we all have a vision of what Syracuse could be and the ideal city, and I want to make that happen.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. All right, so everyone out there has heard your story. What do you want to tell them? What should they be doing?
So I am already endorsed. I am already endorsed by the Working Families Party and Eleanor's Legacy, and I'm very excited about both of those.
Yes.
I am competing in the Democratic primary on June 24th, and I'm going to ask you, amazing people in the audience, if you wouldn't mind voting for me, but also if you could tell 5 friends to vote for Hanah, Hanah, on June 24th. If I get the Democratic Party line and the Working Families Party line, come November, I think I have a real shot to be on this Common Council. And I would love that. I would love that for me. But in particular, I would love that because I want to fight for you. I want to make sure that we go forward and we do it with vision and tenacity. So thank you very much.
Well, I would like to thank you for being on the show today. And I like your political style because it seems genuine and like you actually want to do something for the people that you would be elected to help. So thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Gail. I
All right.
appreciate you.
All
This
right.
is great.
Thanks a lot. Bye for now.